You say to yourself, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to do this. And then 3 days or a week or something passes, and then it's like the same cycle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or like a
I
month
do.
later or something. Or sometimes people say, like, you can control it. And, something happens though. And then there goes the control. I didn't believe that I could do it. And that's why my road journey was like forever like a freaking roller coaster. But once I said in my mind, like, enough is enough. I don't want this. This is how I want to live. This is what my goals are. This is what I'm working for. This is what I want to create. And there was like no looking back.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Samantha Parker Show. I'm excited because I have a guest on today. So this is my friend Ashley. Ashley, I'm not even going to try and pronounce your last name. I was trying to practice, but I only know you from Instagram. So welcome to the Samantha Parker Show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited. I know it's like a tongue twister, but it's Pakulski, Ashley Pakulski.
Pakulski. See, I was going to be pretty dang close there. So, Ashley, you have a really cool sobriety story. So let's just dive in. I do think it helps people to hear other people's stories. So they're like, hey, I'm not crazy. And then sometimes when you guys listen, you can pick up like different tools or different things that worked for different people. I spend a lot of time answering TikTok, questions, comments, DMs. And everyone wants to know, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? Did you do this? Did you do that? And so it's like I can only speak from my own experience. So I think it's great to have like another guest on today because I haven't had one for a while who can talk about like their experience in sobriety.
Oh, amazing. I'm so glad to share my story and journey. And it's true, like what works for one may not work for another. And we all have our experiences and like what we go through. Yeah, if you want, I can definitely start just like a little bit, start talking about it. Since a young age, I experienced trauma. And then after leading into high school, it was sexual assault. And going from there, that's at that age, you start experimenting, you start going out, and everyone thinks like it's like a normal kind of thing, right? Like I was functioning, going to school, doing all the things, but I was like overusing. And then I start experimenting and, with drugs and stuff like that. So it was like a roller coaster ride. I had my daughter at 2021, and that's when it kind of like reality kind of hit and like things needed to change. From there, it was like a roller coaster ride. My daughter's father and I, we started like breaking apart, which was like I dodged the bullet in a way. But at the same time,
Same.
it was a healing and like it was great. So but at that time it wasn't so great, and I was feeling like broken down. I was turning to alcohol, and I was trying to complete college, all of that. So I tried all the things, like even counseling, medication. I did detox, but when I really went into like AA, that's when things really started to change.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of AA, and I know a lot of people aren't though. So, I'm always like, either you love it or you don't. But also, I think
Mhm.
sometimes people aren't willing. So we'll circle back to AA. It's
Yeah.
just like I was just having a conversation with a client, and she's doing like a training, and she's like, I know every year we get like 4 or 5 people that are mad that it's on Facebook. And I was like, well, it's kind of how I feel about how when people message me and like tell me I'll never go to AA, but I'll do anything to get sober, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, and
yeah.
that's wonderful. Like to have, like, like there, again, what works for one may not work for someone else. So to have all these different things, it's beautiful.
Okay, so let's go back. How long did you drink? Like, what age did you start drinking?
So I would say 13, 14. That was a young age. And but that was like a little here and there kind of thing, right? And then 13, maybe 14, 15, I would say, because I was in grade 9. So I was in grade 9, and that's when it started, like, a little bit of experimenting. When I was like 16, 17, that's when we were sneaking out with the friends, going to the parties, or like my mom would like to know where exactly I am. So I would say where I go. But it would be my early teens I started.
And then when did you stop drinking?
So there was a couple attempts. Of course, when I was pregnant, I stopped.
Yeah.
And then after there was 3 years ago, I stopped. It was for a year. And just recently, I hit my milestone of 1 year and 8 months, I believe it is. So
Oh, that's
that's,
rad. Yeah.
yeah.
So, so how old are you now?
I'm 37.
You're 37. Okay, so we're like kind of on the same little timeline here.
Yeah.
I know I didn't start drinking until I was 17. I think maybe like I had tasted a beer or something like that, prior to that. But yeah, I was 17 years old when I really just like started any chance I could get. I would be like,
Mhm.
I'm gone, I'm drinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing with alcohol too is like a lot of times at that age we think that again it's like that age, but it's a thinking disease too. Like we have things going on in the inside. So when that alcohol is coming into our mouth, it's like we feel different and we're like, wait a minute, everything's going away. Like I feel better. I feel fine. And that's where the scary stuff can happen.
Yeah. So what do you think kind of, or where did you even, let's do this. Where did you even get alcohol at like 13, 14 years old?
So my parents, they always had it like around their house. And my mom, like honestly, like it was always like, even like those little cooler kind of things, whatever, like to try or like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a big thing, like to hide it kind of thing. Like it was just like, oh, if you want to try a little sip or something like that. I guess in their mind, or like when I hear people say, like, oh, I do that with my kids too, is like, to show them so then after they don't get like too curious. So when that high school age does come, they're like, you know what I mean? Like go all in with it backwards, but that didn't work with
Well,
me.
no, I honestly think that that's almost like we're just validating like our own drinking.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that 100%.
Okay, so, but I mean, like can you remember the first time you got drunk?
Wow. First time, you
You're
know
like,
what?
well,
I
no,
think it was
because
like
I was drunk, but
it was like it was a family camping trip. And you know what? I wasn't 13 then. I think I was like probably 16, 17, I would say maybe. And I remember getting the case of beer and I said it was going to last the whole weekend, week or that we're there. And it didn't. It lasted like a freaking like a day and a half. And and I would like, and it was like, honestly, like it wasn't like a blackout drunk, but I did get drunk. And I remember talking with my aunt and just sitting with her and just like saying all the things that was like, you know what I mean? Like on my chest. And my mom was like, I think that's a little too much. Like you couldn't control it. Like you just wanted more kind of thing. And but you were thinking that I was out having fun. I was camping. Mind you, I felt like crap the next day. And I was like, okay, I'm not drinking again. Um, but that didn't stop me.
yeah, that's funny. I don't know. It's kind of, I was like 17 when I started drinking, but it was like definitely, I grew up with it in my house, but at that point I'd gone to live with my dad and they didn't really drink. I remember they had alcohol in the house, but it wasn't like they
Mhm.
were drinking, you know? So I was always like going out and I remember like I had this boyfriend and he would like get his sister to buy it sometimes. Or you know what we used to do? We used to go stand in front of the Smith's grocery store, which is like a Kroger. And I don't know what they have in, you said you're from Canada. I don't know what they have up there,
I know,
okay?
but your story kind of resonates with what I went through.
And we would stand out there and we would wait for this is gonna sound a little racist and this is just what we did, but like now I'm like I would never do that, but we would wait for like the Hispanic workers that were going into the store like to cash a check or something like that, you know, like you could tell like they've been working, right? And I would say like, hey, if I give you $40, will you buy me a case of beer and then you can buy yourself one? And they'd be like, they didn't care. And I'd be like, I'm gonna go sit in that truck right there. And people it was wild. I used to do it. My boyfriend used to do it all the time. He'd be like, just give me 10 minutes. And literally it was like, they were like, sweet. And they
Yeah,
would walk up and just set it in the back of his truck, you know? And we were like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to like take the 40 bucks, you know?
really. I know. I
Nobody
remember
ever
going through
did.
that.
But plus I'm like to think about that, like that you would just stand out there and like almost panhandle.
Yeah, no, honestly, I remember too, like, this is when my daughter, she was probably a year or two, and we were living on our own. It was a freaking snowstorm. Okay. And I can't remember if I was upset or whatever the excuse was, but I was like, I need to get some wine. And the store was not too far away. I took the freaking stroller, okay, in the middle of a snowstorm, pushing, okay, making my way that we made it all right. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just look at it now, like how absurd. Like, you know what I mean? Just for wine. I couldn't say like, I'm just gonna stay home and that's it. Like I went to those steps to do that.
Oh yeah, I would be like even financially, I'd be like, oh, we have like a little on this credit card, you know, like shit like that, where I was like, it's fine, like let's just get the box of wine. And I can remember the feeling too, like I would get like giddy, like hee hee hee, like opening like this wine.
Yeah, no, I know. I used to say like too, like it was like my relaxer. It was something that I turned to when I was upset. It was my like self-care time. It was because I was celebrating something. It was because I was going through something. Like it was just like whatever excuse.
Well, that's the problem right there though, is it's like it's for happy, it's for sad. It like becomes like your everything like thing, coping mechanism.
No, and it's true. Like, and you know what? When I was younger, like even in my 30s, well, I'm 37, but like even younger before that, like 29, 28, even 25, I remember like, partying, or even drinking till like 3 in the morning, but you get up and then 6 o'clock, you're ready for work and you're like all good to go. And like, even 19 doing that. And now, like, if I was to do that, it would be like a whole month laying in bed, like feeling like shit, getting over the anxiety. Like, it's when you break free from it, your life just completely changes. Like you find such different things within yourself. You heal like so many things too.
Well, that's the thing is I know for me, and I can't speak for you, but I was like in such a painful place. And I was like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, this will relieve it for a little while. But what's really weird about the disconnect that your brain makes is like you get that relief, but then you've almost like thrown, like when the relief ends, right? When morning comes, it's like you've really kind of thrown gasoline on like I always say your trash can fire. Like you
Yeah.
already had a trash can fire going and then you like threw gasoline on it. So it's like you get like this little reprieve, but you're in the end, you're like making everything so much fucking worse. And that's what's wild to me is the fact that it was like almost like you're numb to that. You're like, it's fine, I'll just repeat it. I'll get a little bit of relief because you just want like those few hours of relief.
Yeah. And you know what? That's true. Like, at that, like, I remember picking up the drink, not even thinking I was going to be drinking. Like, subconsciously, like, I already made that decision, I should say, that I'm going to drink. And once I put that glass, like, at times it could be like it was just like a weekend thing, and then that's okay. Or like you were able to control it. But then there's times like even when you couldn't, like, like had a bad experience blacking out drunk or something, and you're like, oh, that's okay. It happens once in a while to us. And like, you know what I mean? But going through it and taking that drink thinking it's going to relax me, it's going to help me through this, because right now I'm just so pissed off, or like I just need to get my creative flow going, and I'm just going to have a couple drinks. But you feel like complete shit, and then like the ripple effect with it after too, like the bad stuff that goes in, or the situations, like, oh my goodness, I'm so lucky to be alive still. Like, oh my.
I know I think of some of the stuff. We don't have to get into any of that, but
Yeah.
I'm like, go watch my
Those were
TikToks.
lessons.
Yeah, I'm like, it gets wild.
Yeah.
And then there was times where it was perfectly fine, but it was like
Yeah.
what I tell people though is like they're like, "Oh, you were doing like so good." And you'd even talk about like how you redefined your relationship with alcohol. And I was like, it was an obsession. I had to be like 2 drinks, 2 drinks, 2 drinks, 2 drinks. And then I'd be like, "Okay, 3 drinks, 3 drinks, 3 drinks." And then
Yeah.
there was like a different Sam that would like almost shut that part of your brain off and
Yeah.
was like, "Let's do lemon drops." That's always where I was like, I have that part is gone. And I'm like, now we're doing lemon drop shots because we're gonna have fun.
Yeah, and there's no control in it too, because I remember too, like going out and like counting, like, okay, this is how many drinks I'm
Mhm.
having. Okay, I'm staying out till this time. Okay, I'm like this friend, and like you have the plan, you have whatever kind of thing. But it's
Mhm.
true, like once it hits a certain part, I remember my friends too, like like, oh my gosh, like like it's like it was gone, like it was gone, and then you're just like, oh, and you drink the whole bar, and then you don't even remember what happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like, luckily, like you have your circle around you and stuff like that, but it's that feeling, like, like it's just, it makes you feel so down. But then the thing is, though, this feeling, it happens, and then you say to yourself, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to do this. And then 3 days or a week or something passes, and then it's like the same cycle. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
like a
I
month
do.
later or something. Or sometimes people say, like, you can control it, and something happens though, and then there goes the control.
Yeah, and that's what it is it's like you're like, "Oh, I can control this." And I'm like, "But you can't."
Yeah.
You
No, you're
literally
fighting
cannot.
yourself. You're
Yeah.
fighting yourself. It's the ego, I think. Like, I have people close to me still fighting their addiction. I'm like, dude, I'm like, look what I've been through. Look what I've, like, trying to show and giving the upper hand. And I'm like, dude, I understand what you're going through. And I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to do everything. And they're like, no, nothing's wrong. I'm good. Right. So it's hard.
I know. Are you married now?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Okay, so
Putting it
one
out
question I
there.
get No, you're fine. One question I get asked a lot is like, does your spouse still drink? And people are like, well, if my spouse isn't gonna, quit drinking, like how am I supposed to quit drinking? And I'm like, what the hell does this have to do with them?
Nothing. It has nothing to do with it. And you know what? Like, I want to get into the dating game and stuff like that, and I want to get married one day. And this is the funny story I'll quickly share. When I started AA, I was like to my friend, I go, dude, I'm like, when I get married though, like what's gonna happen? Like, my wedding. And she's like, you're single. You're single. You're not even getting married anytime soon. You don't need to think about that. And truth to be told, I would not want to drink on my wedding day. My husband or whoever I decide to date can drink. That's not going to bug me. Like here, I'm strong enough. And like here, I know what I want because I've seen myself in the past. And I think that's the beautiful work that we do when we find ourselves and we love ourselves and we heal. We put those boundaries up, like, you don't want to put yourself, because I see people too that come that have this doubt. And that's with me too. I had this doubt. I didn't believe that I could do it. And that's why my road journey was like forever like a freaking roller coaster. But once I said in my mind, like, enough is enough. I don't want this. This is how I want to live. This is what my goals are. This is what I'm working for. This is what I want to create. There was like no looking back. Things started changing.
Yeah, because that's it, is everyone is like you're saying, you have friends in recovery or, that are still working on it or
Mhm.
fighting their addictions. And I think that's what so many people, once you get far enough along into your sobriety journey, and I'm still super new. So I'm like 8 months sober. You said you were a year and 8 months,
You already.
but it's like once you get to a certain point, like all of a sudden you're like, this has nothing to do with anybody else.
No, and it's like a huge, like, you find this, like, how they talk about like the spiritual like awakening and all that stuff, and like this newfound person, like, you know what I mean? Like you're just like in a different vibe kind of thing. Like you get all these like things working out in your life, and like you're just like on a higher vibe, right? Like life happens, things happen, right?
No,
But you
life
have
still happens, but you
yeah.
just, yeah, like it's just like, oh, that's happening.
Yeah, and you have people to support, tools, whatever. You surrender, let go, let God, and it's just beautiful. Like I look at my past too, like how I handled situations in the past, and I always had that positive mindset. Like even though like I was like in the dark, in the bottom, like feeling like low and stuff like that, I always still had that brighter, the grass is greener on the other side kind of thing. But it's just something so beautiful as you progress, like as you make that one decision, because a lot of people think it's about stopping to drink. It's not about stopping to drink, it's about you.
Yeah, see, exactly. And that's what I actually love about it. I'm like, you take away the alcohol, it's actually really, really painful. So physically, emotionally, which let's talk about your detox here in a second.
Yeah.
But it's very painful, like emotionally, all of a sudden you don't have like that security blanket to like help you feel safe and, take that little bit of reprieve and to numb out. And you have to look at like all the like bullshit that either you have caused or has been caused in your life. Like it's a whole thing. And so it just becomes like this really amazing healing experience. So many people talk about healing online. They're like, heal your trauma, heal your trauma. I feel like it was a
Mhm.
big thing for like the last
Yeah.
like 4 years. And I'm like, okay, but have any of you worked these steps?
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, I've openly talked about this a ton on this podcast too. I went to Tony Robbins, I went to Deepak Chopra, like I did all that crazy shit, where it's like
Mhm.
supposed to make you enlightened, but I wasn't actually looking at why I drank in the first place. I mean,
Yeah.
I was, but then I wasn't taking away like that coping mechanism.
Hmm. No, it's true. There's something different with like these steps too. And I remember doing my fourth and fifth. The first time I did it with my sponsor, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I called her and I was like, I just felt like this like profound, like this like calm, like excitement, like this weight off. Like she knows things that no one in this world knows. And like, you know what I mean? Like my mom, I'm sure does, like whatever. But like there's certain stuff I should say, right? And like to take those things off your chest and to know that you're not the only person going through this, that there's other people that have different stories too, and done things, and you know what I mean? It's different because when you're drinking, you feel like, yes, you have your crowd, but then after, when you're in that isolation and like you think like, you're on this on your own. But again, it's like doing the steps, working through it. It's like it's like speak, like I can't even say the word for it.
No, I went like totally ghost for like 8 weeks, and we were even like we had to go on a family trip, and I just like didn't talk about it. I was
Yeah.
like nothing to see here, folks.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is something I'm working on. And it was like I just kind of went into like this little bubble. But okay, let's talk about detox though, because
Mhm.
that's another huge question I get on TikTok. And so I can only like say like what I went through, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, day two, I've never been sicker in my entire life, but I had COVID. So I was like, how
Um,
like we got COVID, which is funny. We got COVID last summer. Remember how there was like that new strain?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is whatever bullshit. And then I was like laying in my backyard in the sun, like just being like, God, take me.
Oh, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna quit drinking, and here is COVID too with it. Oh my
I remember
goodness.
being mad. I was like, no, I gave up drinking. I made one of the like hardest phone calls of my life. I was like looking at rehabs, and I was like crying hysterically for days. And now I'm like so physically ill, I can't even take care of myself,
Oh,
you know. My husband had it too. So I was like, nobody can
oh
help us.
no. That was like a full like.
Yeah, so people are always like, how was the detox? And I was like, well, I don't think I was super physically dependent on it, but there is a detox. It's just like
Mhm.
if, I was to quit caffeine, like there's going to be a detox and withdrawal. So,
For
but it was
sure.
hard to say because I mean, I already felt like such dog shit. I was like, I don't know. I was like,
I
probably,
feel you for you.
yeah, it's like in the
That's
top five sickest I've ever been. I was like, I can't do anything. And I've like, if
fine.
anyone had like it's just like a wicked flu. So it's like you can't
Oh,
breathe, you can't do all these things. And I'm like, but I thought life was supposed to get better. So I had made it to one AA meeting. I walked in, so it was a Sunday that I quit drinking, and I walked into a women's meeting on a Monday night, and that's now become my home group. I just love it. But I'd been to one meeting, and you know how they all are. They're like, oh, someone new. They're like, keep coming back, keep coming back. And
yeah.
I'm like, I can't even like fucking put in a Walmart order at this point. And I was like, F this. But someone had given me the big book. So I was like reading it and then I started listening to it. And I was like, this is hell. So I don't know. Like, and then I decided not to do rehab or anything like that. But, anyways, it sounds like you went to detox. Is that what you did?
Yes. So I
So,
did
how
do
much
detox.
can I ask? Like, because I know this is questions I'll get. How much
No.
were you drinking that you felt like,
Oh my gosh, like that, like you're shaky and you just feel like you're drinking and you're drinking yourself sober, or you just like feel like shit, like you're even hungover and you're drinking or like whatever. It was just like I felt like complete shit and I had anxiety. And my friend came and she's like, you know what, like, just go to this detox. And I did it twice, to be honest with you. I did it like years before, and like this was like 3 4 years ago, I would say, when the first time I hit the 1 year mark. And I went, and luckily I didn't need no like medication and stuff like that. But oh my gosh, let me tell you, I looked like a swollen like poof ball. Like
oh,
I
yeah.
it's so like I felt like crap. They're observing you. I'm just like sleeping. They give you food. You're eating a little bit, or no, sorry, they give you water. I can't even remember if you can even eat at that time. They're observing you, and um just for like a little period of time, and then after they move you into the like you just it's like a little rehab, let's say, kind of thing. So I was supposed to be there for 5 days, and when it was like day 3, I was like, I'm good, I want to go home. I need to get out of here. But
Yeah.
my mom was like, no, stay longer. So I did stay longer. They did have meetings, people coming in the group, and I wish that was, and I think yeah, no, because after I got out from there, I did drinking a little here and there again. And after my friend, that's when she's like, hey, come with me to the meetings here. And she took me to the meetings. But, anyways, they had the meetings there. And I wish I stayed with those meetings, because when you stay with those meetings, that's when the changes happen. Once you start drifting, for me, like, that's when like things I find, like, you go back into that cycle because your brain starts working, right? It starts saying, like, oh, you're okay. So I did do the detox. I didn't do the rehab, and I heard a lot of people spending thousands of dollars on rehab to go back drinking. Right.
Yes.
When I went into the rooms of AA and people started talking, saying like, people were seeing doctors and they were on heavy medication, and coming here, their doses got lighter, or they got taken off medication, or they've spent thousands on rehab, and they always relapse, but coming here, they found this new profound life, like they found themselves, and like it's different, like what I mean. So it was definitely an experience, but yeah.
No, I love AA. I do know it's a
Yeah.
very humbling experience, especially if you go to, I call them like mixed meetings. Like if I go to like a high noon meeting and you've got a lot of old timers, and then you'll have
Mhm.
some guys that are like there from rehab, like or court
Yeah.
ordered, and I'm like, This is
Or
humbling.
some for dating, picking up people. I came across that.
So, my sponsor, which I didn't take a sponsor until like month 5, because I was just like, I'm just gonna put my head down. It was like, I don't know, again, like you guys, people just need to realize it's such a personal journey,
Yeah,
you
it's how
know?
you do it. Like it's your journey.
Yeah, like, and in my head for a long time, I was like, I don't want to talk to any of these people. And it wasn't like I've even said this now I'm the chair of my AA group. I was like, what has
Oh,
happened?
and all the like the changes, like it's amazing.
Yeah. But I was like, I was just, it wasn't that I didn't want to talk to anyone. It was that I was in such a state of like embarrassment for a while
Mhm.
that I was like, I'm just coming in and I'm coming out. And to me, it was holding me accountable because I wanted to come back that next week. I didn't want them to be like, and people do not talk about each other like if you don't come back. It's not like that at all. But I did
No.
not want them to be like, oh, remember that girl? I saw her once and never saw her again. So like in my head, I was just holding myself accountable that I would go back each week.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And the thing too, like, life happens. Like, I'm in my 1 year, 8 months, and I was going to the meetings, and then life happens. And, like, sometimes I don't make it or I don't go. But I think, and a lot of times too, they say this too, is like when you stop coming. And it's just like, making the time to go to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even online, because we have like a home group and we have it online and in person. But, like, I'm telling you, there's some days I don't even want to go, and because I'm just like so tired with things and I'm working on so many things, and
Yeah, or you're
and
like, I
then
don't want to sit and listen to anyone, bitch.
yeah, I
Like you
want
just
to
get,
want to be
yeah.
alone.
And then you go and then you're like driving home and you're sobbing in your car and you're like, life is so great.
Yeah, yeah, you walk out like a whole new person. Like you just feel
Mhm.
so great. Like my daughter, she sees when I come home, like before leaving, I'm like, make sure you clean your room and you do this. And then after I come back, I'm like, oh, so how are
They're
you?
like,
She's
who wants
like,
to go out for ice cream? They're like,
yeah,
wow. I know
no,
I actually
it's
like to
beautiful.
go on Sundays. Like I go on Sunday mornings and now like people in my life are like, oh, she's going to church. I'm like, whatever. Whatever crack,
I
I'm taking it. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And like you build like the foundations, these relationships, and like even with your higher power. And like, and I do go on church on Sundays too. And like, even I talk to God every day. And like, you know what I mean? Like, knowing that there's someone higher than you there too that helps you. Like, you know what I mean? That it's not your control all the time, because we try to control things all the time and try to do it our way, and then we just burn ourselves out, or like, you know what I mean? And then like all these fears and doubts easily come in, or resentments. Like I've been always close with my family, but we've had our little things and stuff like that. Like I love them dearly, but my relationship with them has completely changed. Like
Same, same.
completely.
And
Yeah.
it's like down, like my husband, my kids, my mom, my like
Yeah.
extended family, like especially like on my dad's side, like all of a sudden like we're going on trips together and.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And,
Mhm.
I even start like realizing things with myself. Like, I'm just like, oh, like I was really taking things personally a lot. Like, just
Oh,
the
all
other
the
day.
time. It's so much,
Yeah.
it's so much drama. And that's what I think, if you're listening to this and maybe you are just like on your sober journey or you're sober curious, is it will completely change like how you view like everything. Like there's all of a sudden I'm like, well, that's interesting that they're angry. And it's like you just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you really, honestly. And it's honestly, it's just like amazing. And I remember too, like going into AA at first, I was like, this isn't for me. I'm like, I don't need this. I'm like, I'm not that person that lies on the bench drinking with a paper bag, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm functional. I still go to work. I'm raising a kid. Like, I'm doing all the things. And there's no like embarrassment to go. Like, I know I felt that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like it wasn't for me. Like, I didn't need that. And it is the most beautiful, beautiful thing in the world, like, honestly.
No, it 100% is. And that's, you go in and someone the other day was like, it's a great analogy, it's like you go in and you're just like, you look at everyone's shoes. And then like
Yeah.
you start, like eventually one day, like you look up and look around.
No, it's true. It's very true. And the friendships you build, like, with my sponsor, me and her, we aim to go like on hikes weekly or connect or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like that spiritual journey.
Oh, I actually really enjoy my sponsor. She's like this little, quite older lady, so
Mhm.
sweet.
Aw.
And I'm just like, have this new best friend. But I remember the time that she was like, well, I'll just come by. Like, she comes by my office a lot, you know? And I'm like, okay. And then the one day I was like, so you're just like gonna keep coming by? And she's like, well, why wouldn't I come by? Like, we set an appointment. And I was like, but like, you're just gonna like do that for me? And I started crying. And she's like, well, why wouldn't I? And I was like,
Aw.
you just are gonna like come by just to like see how I am, you know?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's honestly like such beautiful, like those are real friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had
Mhm.
many friends and stuff like that, close and stuff like that too. But like, you know, it's like they understand you. They don't judge you. They will tell you the real thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, okay, come on, let's just have a drink and we'll just forget about this and like, or you know what I mean? Like, I know I had different types of friends and stuff like that. And like, there would be the friends that would be stuck in their thing, whatever, which I'm not judging or anything. Everyone's
Oh
on their
yeah,
own
because I've had a
journey.
lot of things I was stuck in.
Yeah, a heck a lot of things. And at that time, they were a match for me to be my friends. Like, you know what I mean? We were drinking buddies, I guess. But like, you know what I mean? It was just like a sucker holder in kind of thing. But when you find people like that uplift you, that you grow together, miracles happen. Like opportunities come. Things like have been falling into my lap, like out of nowhere. And like they say, like the spiritual experience promises, or I always mix it up, the promises, like sometimes some come faster, sometimes some come quicker, whatever, and it's just like so amazing, all the things that you experience on this journey.
No, it's really cool. And I feel lucky enough that like I've was brave enough to put my story out there. And so now like I get a lot of questions, a lot of feedback, and I'm like, I hope that like we can answer some of those. And I think talking about AA, I know because it just feels so scary to so many people.
Hmm.
And they're like, well, they're gonna suck me into religion. And I'm like, well, there's not a single religion that goes on there. There's actually a lady in my group who refers to God. It's like she has a name for it's like a female name. And
Yeah.
like when she's like talking, and I'm at first I was like, who is she talking about? You know? So it's like you literally can do anything that works for you.
That works for you. And I know even too in our group they were even talking to like, oh, if you don't know or you feel lost, like here you can borrow my God for a little bit, or like, you know what I mean? Like no one's gonna judge and push down something to make you feel uncomfortable, and then you start realizing things even on your own.
One of the best pieces of advice I've gotten, and I'm like, I wish I could have had this earlier in life and applied it to all areas because now I do it
Mhm.
all the time. And so I live in Utah, which is predominantly Mormon. So I do run into a lot of people who have religious trauma. So like when I say God or I say pray, so I've gotten good about being like, I'm going to tell you the words that I'm using, but will you please interchange them? Like send
Mhm.
vibes. So
Yeah.
that's really what AA is. I'm like, just go ahead and interchange whatever's really, really bothering you. But the best piece of advice I got was I was like, hey, I'm kind of struggling like with family and just like some certain circumstances that went down. And I'm like, I'm feeling angry. Like I
Mhm.
just want to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I'm like, I'm not going to go change these people, because I realize like it's not my job and their business is their business, but I just wish I didn't feel so angry about it.
Yeah.
And I was told just to like pray for people.
Yep.
And that right there has changed it. So when I'm feeling flustered with a situation, or I just want to be like, listen, you stupid mother effer, or, even like your spouse, you're like, I'm like, do you see me at the gym like every day? Because I don't see you. Instead, it was like, just pray for them. And it's been really kind of cool to watch those miracles unfold, and even if it's just my own reality, like they don't even know what's going on, it's flipping beautiful.
No, it is honestly. And like I can even relate to like even I recently got a car like in the summertime, and like some of the drivers around, it's just like they really irk me.
Oh
And I'm just
yeah,
like,
I do that
dude,
sometimes too.
but and that was something that I was working on, and talking with my sponsor. I'm like, I want to be more calmer. I want to be like, more in like flow kind of like, mind you, I still make my little mistakes or whatever kind of thing. But just being more like, I guess, calm. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's there's changes within that I have like never thought that even could happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like the overthinking. The overthinking was like the biggest thing. Like morning and night was overthinking. Like being on that survival mode. And like they always say, like your nervous system is like dysregulated, like you're just like whatever, and you're like, on this fight or flight. And now you can just like breathe. I feel like I could breathe. Like I could like there's no point of stressing because it's true. Pray for someone, surrender, let it go. And it's the miracles that unfold. That's the most beautiful thing.
I know, like yesterday, I was just feeling stressed about going to a meeting. I have some, like sometimes I have to show up in like pantsuits, type of like clients and meetings. And I was just
Mhm.
like, just like mentally, I was like, and I just like stopped. And again, you guys, even if you're like, just talk to the universe or like send good vibes, but I just stopped and I like just prayed. I was like, okay, like please, like help me, like reshift my focus because my brain was like, da da, I don't want to go in there. I'm like, can I say I'm sick? Maybe we can reschedule. I don't want to do this today. And it was so funny because I went in, best meeting I've ever had in my life, walked out with more money. Like,
See, like it's amazing. It's so
Mhm.
amazing when we just like surrender and let it go. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's beautiful. And it says that all in like the book and like all like the steps and everything too, the prayers. They have the app too that I like to use. I don't know if you use it. It's
Yeah, the
everything.
daily reflections.
Yes, 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 yes. The
Yeah.
everything AA, that one?
No, the one I'll pull it up on my phone. So the one that I look at, it's the daily reflections.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
It's on Alcoholics Anonymous's website, and every day it has a daily reflections. Have you seen it? It's like a little tiny
I
book.
do have a daily reflection. I have, but I use the Everything AA app. So it might be the same
It's
kind of
probably
flow.
Canadian. No, I'm just kidding.
Probably more difficult.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We have our own issues here in America. AA.org. It's just,
Okay.
yeah, so it's not an app. It's like it's just a website that I go to. I have,
Okay.
yeah, which is the same thing really. You just click the little web button. Well, I can do hard things.
See?
But I love the daily reflections, and that's what we use in our home group. And then I have a codependency book that I read from every day as well, which has been kind of blowing people's mind. They're like, well, who are you codependent to? And I'm like, alcohol?
Yeah. And
Um,
that's the thing, like, too, like, I always say to everyone as well, like, addiction is like alcohol. There, like, alcohol is a big thing too, but there's like even food, there's shopping, there's everything. There's something like, you know what I mean? And the life that we're here on earth isn't meant for us to just pass by and go and that's it. It's the self discovery within ourselves, our spiritual healing, and leaving an impact, a legacy, or whatever it is. Like it's your passion, your talent that God, like your higher power, whoever you call, gives you, and for you to unfold that on this planet. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So again, you guys, like there's so many tools and resources out there to help you with your sobriety journey. I love it because it's like if not, I don't have anyone to talk to about this, right? So like my spouse still drinks, my closest friends and family drink. And so it's like, who do you go to? Like they're all very, very supportive. And in fact, if
Mhm.
I was like, hey, we should all go out and get drinks, they'd be like, we're not doing that with you.
Yeah.
We know how hard you're working. But it's like they don't have the same stuff. And
Yeah.
so it's like I just need people to know like you're not alone out there. There's so many resources. And so like if you think you are alone, it's because you're literally stopping yourself.
Yeah. 100%. And that's the only thing is us stopping ourselves from like I even told my someone close to me too. And I said, you know what? You need to be honest with yourself. Look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. And then that's when things will start to change because we lie to ourselves and make excuses to ourselves, I guess, to keep us safe. Because maybe the fear, like how remember I was thinking of my wedding, like how am I gonna get married?
There's no, I've heard this before from other people who are single. This one girl was like, well, am I not going to drink champagne at my wedding? And then I almost like threw up in the parking lot and I'm not even dating anyone. It's like, what?
But now it's completely different because when you're honest with yourself, you're like, I don't need that to have fun. I would love to be more present and intentional in my wedding and make the time go by so slow rather than just getting drunk and let it be like a quick, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so what are some your favorite resources, just real quick, or like what's like your favorite book, favorite podcast? Do you have one around sobriety, something that you would recommend to people?
Yeah, so right now what I'm doing is I use the app, the Everything AA. I find it very simple, helpful to use. I do go to the meetings and I do read through the book. There was a book that I ordered. Oh my goodness. I've put it back on the shelf. I need to go back to it. It's 12 Steps for Women, but I think it's something woman's change, something, I can't remember the exact name, but it's a woman's version of AA. And it was a beautiful book too that I was reading.
Oh, rad. Do you listen to anything like podcast wise, or like how do you kind of fill your
What? Podcasts, not necessarily. I did in the past. Now I'm not really like listening to them, but I have. The thing is, I had something go on with my phone, so I like sometimes go on, sometimes not. But I'm more of like the books, the apps. I was even like YouTube videos. Something came up.
That's what I'm saying is there's like so many things.
There's so many things. There's so many things. And before too, it was a lot of podcasts that I was listening to in the beginning of my journey. I can't remember the names to be honest with you, but yeah, there's so many things out there.
You're like, listen, guys, it all works. Okay, just work, do
Now I'm gonna go
something.
back to it. See, then that's gonna be my exercise now, because now I'm gonna go back to it. I'm gonna go back to my Spotify and put it all in.
It's meant to be.
Yeah, that was my sign for today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Ashley. Where can we find you just in the digital world?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Ashley at the Ashley Pakulski. Also on Facebook, Ashley Pakulski, and yeah,
Are you on TikTok? Well,
I'm not. I do want to start it. I was gonna expand to TikTok and YouTube, but yeah, I'm just on Facebook and Instagram for now.
dude, I love sober talk. I mean, after Sunday though, I might not be on TikTok.
Aw.
I'm like, what is our government doing?
Yeah. Oh yes, they're canceling the TikToks, aren't they? Oh,
Maybe
TikTok.
it's like they're fighting about it. Yeah. I'm just
That's
like,
out of our control.
that's what like all plus that's like what I do for a living is like manage social accounts and create
Oh
content,
yes.
you know? And every day my clients are like, what are they doing? And I'm like, I don't know, but I watched this news report and then oh, here's another action, like I'm trying to find like good sources and
Yeah.
even like those that you would say, I'm air quoting here, are credible, they're all conflicting.
But you know what? This talk has been on it for so long, and I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, I don't even think it's gonna happen.
I know,
Or,
well, it's supposed to be January 19th, which I know this podcast is coming out after that. So that's
Mhm.
like in 4 days. So we'll see.
Oh, see, now I need to get on TikTok.
I'm like, future me is like,
Oh. But there's YouTube, so many other different things, right? And it's trusting the process, what's meant to be, and work and unfold. The perfect platform will be there.
I know every day I'm like, how interesting. It's all working out, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your story. I love when people are willing to share because honestly, it's like what I needed, 8 months ago
Oh, no,
was
thank you.
because, you said it a second ago, like you're not drinking out of a brown paper bag. I always am like under a bridge down by the river. It's like we're just normal people and it was ruining our lives and we felt like shit and chose to do something different.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because a lot of people, like, they think it's normal, like what they're doing, like drinking, and it's actually an addiction.
I know. I'm like, I don't want to say that, but
Yeah. No, no, but like even they were saying, like, even like weekend drinkers, like, that's,
oh, no, I
but
I want to say that, but
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
we mind our own business.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing real quick. The other day, my cousin and I were talking about something, and he's like, I totally thought you were gonna be like, shut the F up, like to someone. And I was like, no, Sober Sam was like, they can have their opinion.
Yeah.
And he's like, but someone should have told him to shut up. I was like, but Sober Sam does not. It was so funny.
No, that is so true. Honestly, that I look at it like that too. Like the old Ashley, like how like you handle things, say things, and like like the calm, sober, like new version.
Yeah, and I'm like in the car on the way home, I was like to my husband, I was like, "Did you effing hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I cannot believe it." It was something where it was like, "Wow, they had had too much to drink." Okay, and he's like, "You really just were like, huh? How interesting." And I'm like, "Sober Sam does not choose to engage." I'm like,
Yeah.
"But I
No.
will talk this out with you."
Aw.
So yeah, you guys. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Lots of sober resources. Check the show notes. And oh, I'm supposed to be saying this. Leave us a review. Ashley, you need to review the show too.
Oh yes. You know what? I'm gonna be listening to this like every time. I'm
5-star
putting
reviews.
this.
Five, yeah. It's like 2,000 extra downloads, and they all came from Ashley. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening and have a great day.